My name is Alex Rivera, and for 7 years, I believed that hard work and loyalty would eventually be rewarded. 7 years of arriving early, staying late, and treating every project like it was the most important thing in the world. I started at TechFlow Solutions in 2017, fresh out of college with a computer science degree and enough ambition to power a small city. TechFlow was a mid-sized software consulting firm that specialized in custom enterprise solutions, and I was hired as a junior developer with dreams of climbing the corporate ladder. "Alex, you've got real potential," my original manager Janet had said during my first week. "Work hard, learn everything you can, and you'll go places here." I took her advice to heart, maybe too much. Before we dive into this story of workplace justice and discovering your true value, please hit that like button, drop a comment below about your own workplace experiences, and make sure to subscribe for more tales of people who refuse to accept disrespect. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this one ends. Year 1. The Foundation. "Alex, the Morrison Industries project is falling apart," my new manager, Derek Hoffman, had said 6 months into my tenure. The previous developer left, and the client is furious about missed deadlines. Morrison Industries was our second largest client, worth $1.2 million annually. Their inventory management system was a disaster. Buggy code, poor architecture, and zero documentation. "What's the timeline?" I'd asked. "You have 3 weeks to deliver a working system, or we lose the contract." I'd spent the next 21 days rebuilding their entire platform from scratch. 18-hour days, weekend coding sessions, living on energy drinks and determination. I'd not only delivered on time, I'd created a system so efficient it reduced their processing time by 60%. Derek got the credit and a $10,000 bonus for successful project management. Year 2. The Systems Overhaul. "Alex, our development infrastructure is a mess," Derek had announced during a team meeting. "We need someone to standardize our processes, implement proper version control, and create documentation standards." The infrastructure overhaul took 4 months of my life. I'd researched best practices, implemented Git workflows, created coding standards, and built automated testing systems. I'd turned our chaotic development environment into a well-oiled machine. The new systems increased our team's productivity by 40% and reduced bugs by 70%. Derek presented the improvements to upper management as his strategic development initiative. He got promoted to senior manager. Year 3. The Training Revolution. "Alex, we're hiring 5 new developers, and they need to be productive fast," Derek had said. "Can you create a comprehensive training program?" I'd spent 3 months developing an onboarding system that included interactive tutorials, practical exercises, and mentorship programs. I'd personally trained each new hire, creating detailed documentation and best practice guides. The training program was so effective that our new developers were contributing to projects within 2 weeks instead of the usual 2 months. Other companies started asking TechFlow about our secret to rapid developer integration. Derek got featured in Tech Week magazine as an innovative leader in developer education. Year 4. The Client Relations Master. "Alex, we need someone to be the primary technical contact for our top clients," Derek had said. "You've got the best understanding of our systems, and clients seem to like working with you." Within 6 months, I was managing relationships with 8 major clients, including Morrison Industries, Sterling Tech, and our biggest account, Pinnacle. Enterprises, worth $2.8 million annually. I'd become known in the industry as someone who could solve impossible problems. Clients specifically requested me for critical projects. I'd saved at least 3 major contracts that were on the verge of cancellation due to technical issues. Derek got promoted to Director of Client Relations. Year 5. The Architecture Revolution. "Alex, our code base is becoming unwieldy," Derek had said. "We need someone to architect a new framework that can scale with our growth." I'd spent 8 months designing and implementing a microservices architecture that made our applications faster, more reliable, and easier to maintain. The new framework reduced deployment time from hours to minutes and made our systems 99.9% reliable. The architecture was so innovative that we started licensing it to other companies. It became a significant revenue stream, $500,000 in the first year alone. Derek got promoted to Vice President of Technology Innovation. Year 6. The Crisis Management Expert. Alex, Pinnacle Enterprises is threatening to walk, Derek had said, bursting into my office at 7 a.m. Their entire system crashed overnight, and they're saying they'll sue us if it's not fixed by the end of the day. Pinnacle's system handled $50 million in daily transactions. A full day of downtime would cost them millions and potentially destroy our reputation in the industry. I'd worked for 14 straight hours, diagnosing the issue, implementing a fix, and creating redundancy systems to prevent future crashes. Not only did I save the Pinnacle contract, I improved their system performance by 35%. Derek got the Crisis Leadership Award from the company's CEO. Year 7. The respected expert. By 2024, I'd become the unofficial technical lead of our entire development team. New projects automatically came to me for architecture review. Clients wouldn't sign contracts unless I was assigned to their projects. Junior developers sought me out for mentorship. I'd built relationships with CTOs at major corporations, spoken at industry conferences, and published articles about software architecture. Recruiters contacted me weekly with offers from Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. But I'd stayed loyal to TechFlow. I'd believed that Derek would eventually recognize my contributions and promote me to the senior technical position I'd earned. I was about to learn how wrong I was. March 12th, 2024. A Tuesday that started like any other and ended with the destruction of my illusions about corporate loyalty. Our weekly team meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. The usual Zoom call where Derek would review project statuses, assign new tasks, and occasionally drop motivational speeches about team synergy and innovative thinking. I'd joined the call from my home office where I'd been working on the Pinnacle Enterprises system upgrade. The screen showed the familiar grid of faces. Derek in his pristine home office with his awards visible in the background, Sarah from UI/UX, Marcus from QA, Jennifer from project management, and 3 junior developers I'd trained over the past year. All right, team, let's dive into this week's updates, Derek began, his voice carrying that practiced corporate enthusiasm that never quite sounded genuine. Alex, let's start with you. How's the Pinnacle upgrade coming along? On schedule, I replied. I've completed the database optimization and the new API endpoints. Performance testing shows a 40% improvement in response times. The client is very happy with the progress. Good, good. Derek nodded, not really listening as he typed something on his keyboard. Anyone else have updates? Sarah shared her progress on the Morrison Industries UI redesign. Marcus talked about the testing protocols for Sterling Tech. Jennifer updated everyone on project timelines. Everything was routine, professional, normal. Then Derek's expression changed. He leaned back in his chair with a smirk that I'd never seen before. Something cold and condescending that made my stomach clench. You know what, Alex, he said, his voice taking on a tone that made everyone else on the call go quiet. I've been thinking about our team dynamics lately, and I have to say, you've gotten way too comfortable in your role. The words hit me like a physical blow. Too comfortable? After 7 years of exceeding every expectation, solving every crisis, building every system that made this company successful? I mean, maybe it's time we shake things up around here, Derek continued, clearly enjoying the stunned silence on the call. Fresh perspectives, new approaches. Sometimes when people get too settled, they stop pushing themselves, you know? I could see the other team members' faces on screen. Sarah looked shocked. Marcus was staring at his keyboard. Jennifer's mouth had fallen slightly open. Even the junior developers looked uncomfortable. Derek, I said carefully, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. Could you clarify what you mean by that? Oh, come on, Alex. Don't take it personally. He laughed, a sound that felt like nails on a chalkboard. I'm just saying that maybe you've gotten a little set in your ways. Comfortable with the status quo. Sometimes that happens when people have been around too long. Too long. 7 years of building this company's reputation, and I'd been around too long. I see, I said, my voice calm and professional. Is there something specific about my performance that you'd like to address? No, nothing specific. Derek waved his hand dismissively. Just general observations about team energy and innovation. Anyway, let's move on. Marcus, tell me about the Sterling testing protocols. For the rest of the meeting, I sat in stunned silence, watching Derek conduct business as if he hadn't just publicly humiliated his most valuable employee. The other team members kept glancing at me with sympathy and embarrassment, clearly uncomfortable with what they'd witnessed. When the call ended, I closed my laptop and sat in my office for 10 minutes, processing what had just happened. Too comfortable. After 7 years of sacrifice, of missed dinners and weekend work sessions, of building systems that made Derek look like a genius, I was too comfortable. The funny thing was, Derek was right about one thing. I had gotten comfortable. Comfortable with being undervalued. Comfortable with watching him take credit for my work. Comfortable with accepting less than I was worth. But that comfort zone was about to become very uncomfortable for him. That evening, I opened my laptop and stared at a blank document for nearly an hour. My wife, Maria, brought me coffee and sat down beside me. "Rough day?" she asked, noticing my expression. "You could say that." I told her about Derek's comment, about being called too comfortable in front of the entire team. Maria was quiet for a moment, then shook her head. "Alex, you've been complaining about Derek taking credit for your work for 3 years. Maybe this is the wake-up call you needed." "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe it's time you stopped being comfortable with being treated like garbage." She was right. I'd been complaining about Derek's behavior for years, but never doing anything about it. I'd convinced myself that loyalty would eventually be rewarded, that hard work would speak for itself. I was wrong. I opened a new document and began updating my resume for the first time in 7 years. The list of accomplishments was staggering. System architectures, client relationships, revenue generation, team leadership. On paper, I looked like exactly the kind of person any tech company would want to hire. Day 2. The network activation. I started reaching out to my professional network, former colleagues who'd moved to other companies, clients I'd worked with over the years, recruiters who'd been trying to poach me for months. The response was immediate and overwhelming. "Alex, I've been waiting for this call for 2 years," said Jennifer Walsh, VP of Engineering at TechFlow Solutions. "We've got a senior architect position that's perfect for you. 50% salary increase, stock options, and your own team." "Finally ready to leave TechFlow?" asked Marcus Chen from Pinnacle Enterprises. "We've been talking about bringing our development in-house. Interested in leading that initiative?" "Alex Rivera? The Alex Rivera from TechFlow?" said Rebecca Torres from Innovate Tech. "I've heard you speak at conferences. We'd love to discuss our CTO track position." Within 48 hours, I had preliminary offers from 4 companies, including 2 direct invitations to interview for executive positions. Day 3. The client conversation. On Thursday, I had my regular check-in call with Michael Brennan, CTO of Pinnacle Enterprises. We'd worked together for 3 years, and I'd personally saved his company millions of dollars in system downtime and inefficiencies. "Alex, the new API optimization is incredible," Michael said during our call. "Response times are down 45%, and our users are raving about the performance improvements." "Thanks, Michael. It was a complex challenge, but I'm happy with how it turned out." "You know, I have to ask, are you happy at TechFlow? Because we've been discussing bringing our development team in-house, and frankly, we'd love to have you lead that initiative." I paused, thinking about Derek's comment from Tuesday. "To be honest, Michael, I've been reconsidering my options lately." "Really? What's going on?" I told him about Derek's too comfortable comment, about 7 years of watching my work get credited to others, about the lack of recognition despite consistently exceeding expectations. Michael was quiet for a long moment. "Alex, that's insane. You're the most talented developer I've worked with in 20 years. TechFlow doesn't deserve you." "I appreciate that. No, I'm serious. You've saved Pinnacle millions of dollars and countless hours of downtime. If you're really considering a change, we should talk seriously about you joining us." "What would that look like?" VP of Technology position, $180,000 base salary, full benefits, stock options, and a $50,000 signing bonus. Plus, you'd be building something from scratch instead of maintaining someone else's vision. That was a 60% increase from my current salary, plus equity in a company I'd helped optimize for 3 years. "Michael, can I ask you something hypothetical?" "Sure." If I were to leave TechFlow, would Pinnacle consider transitioning your account to follow me? Michael laughed. Alex, let me be clear about something. Pinnacle doesn't have a relationship with TechFlow. We have a relationship with you. We've stayed with TechFlow because of you. If you leave, there's no reason for us to stay. Perfect. Day 4. The decision. Friday morning, I received a formal offer from Pinnacle Enterprises. VP of Technology, reporting directly to the CTO with the mandate to build their internal development team from scratch. The offer was everything I dreamed of: better money, real recognition, equity in a company I believed in, and the chance to build something new instead of watching someone else take credit for my innovations. I called Jennifer Walsh at TechFlow Solutions and politely declined their offer. I called Rebecca Torres at Innovate Tech and did the same. Then I accepted Pinnacle's offer. Day 5. The preparation. Over the weekend, I prepared my resignation letter and transition documents. I wanted to leave professionally, despite Derek's treatment of me. I documented all my current projects, created handover notes for my replacement, and organized my code repositories. I also had a long conversation with Maria about the decision. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "I've never been more sure about anything in my life." "What about Derek?" "He's going to be furious." I smiled. Derek taught me something important this week. He taught me that I'd gotten too comfortable with being undervalued. I'm about to show him what uncomfortable really looks like. Monday morning, I would submit my resignation. But first, I had one more call to make. Monday, March 18th, 2024. The day Derek Hoffman learned the difference between comfort and complacency. I arrived at my home office at 8 a.m., an hour before my usual start time. I wanted to handle everything before the regular workday began, to maintain professionalism even as I burned bridges Derek would never be able to rebuild. My resignation letter was already drafted, sitting in my drafts folder like a loaded weapon. Dear Derek, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from TechFlow Solutions, effective 2 weeks from today's date. I have accepted a position that better aligns with my career goals and provides the growth opportunities I'm seeking. I will ensure a smooth transition of all current projects, and am happy to assist in training my replacement during my notice period. Thank you for the opportunities provided during my tenure here. Sincerely, Alex Rivera. Professional, courteous, and completely devoid of the satisfaction I was about to feel sending it. But first, I had a call to make. At 8:30 a.m., I dialed Michael Brennan at Pinnacle Enterprises. "Alex, good morning. How are things going with the system optimization?" "Good morning, Michael. The optimization is complete and performing beautifully, but I'm calling about something else." "Oh." "I'm officially submitting my resignation to TechFlow this morning. I wanted you to know before you heard it through other channels." "Congratulations. So you're taking our offer?" "I am. And Michael, about our previous conversation regarding Pinnacle's relationship with TechFlow." "Right. You asked if we'd consider following you if you left." "Correct. I want to be completely transparent about the implications of my departure for your account." Michael was quiet for a moment. "Alex, let me save us both some time. Pinnacle Enterprises has worked with TechFlow for 3 years specifically because of you. You've built our systems, optimized our processes, and saved us millions in potential downtime. I appreciate that. More than that, you've become integral to our technology strategy. The system architecture you designed, the APIs you built, the optimization protocols you implemented, they're all based on your expertise. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying that without you, TechFlow can't provide the level of service Pinnacle requires. We'll be terminating our contract with them effective immediately and transitioning all development work to you at your new position." There it was. The $2.8 million account that represented 35% of TechFlow's annual revenue was walking out the door with me. "Michael, I want to make sure you understand the implications of that decision." "I understand completely. Alex, Pinnacle pays TechFlow $2.8 million annually for services that you personally deliver. Why would we continue that arrangement when you're no longer there to deliver them? And you're comfortable making this transition?" "More than comfortable. We're excited about it. Working directly with you means faster communication, better service, and no middleman taking credit for your work." "Perfect. Michael, I'll be sending TechFlow my resignation this morning. You might want to prepare your termination letter for this afternoon. Already drafted, just waiting for your confirmation. After I hung up with Michael, I opened my email and clicked send on my resignation letter. The timestamp read 9:47 a.m. Then I sat back and waited for Derek's world to collapse. It didn't take long. My phone rang at 10:15 a.m. Alex, what the hell is this resignation letter? Derek's voice was strained, panicked in a way I'd never heard before. It's my 2 weeks' notice, Derek. I thought the subject line was pretty clear. You can't just resign without discussing it with me first. We have projects, we have deadlines, we have a 2-week transition period, I interrupted calmly. I'll make sure everything is properly documented and handed over. Alex, look, if this is about what I said in the team meeting last week, that was just... Derek, this isn't about one comment. This is about 7 years of my work being credited to others, 7 years of being passed over for promotions I've earned, and 7 years of watching you build your career on my innovations. That's not fair, Alex. We're a team. Everyone contributes. You're right, everyone contributes, but not everyone gets recognition for their contributions. Derek was quiet for a moment, and I could practically hear him calculating the implications of my departure. Alex, we can discuss a promotion, a raise, better project assignments, whatever you want. What I want is to work for people who recognize my value before I walk out the door. Where are you going? Maybe we can match their offer. I'm going to Pinnacle Enterprises as their VP of Technology. Another pause. Longer this time. Pinnacle? Our Pinnacle? Former client Pinnacle, yes. Alex, you can't. There are non-compete clauses, there are... Derek, I've read my contract. The non-compete doesn't apply to client companies, and it certainly doesn't prevent clients from choosing who they want to work with. What do you mean? I mean you should probably check your email. I hung up and waited. At 10:43 a.m., my phone rang again. Derek's name flashed on the screen, but I didn't answer. At 10:44 a.m., he called again. Still didn't answer. At 10:45 a.m., my computer chimed with an email notification. The sender was Michael Brennan, and Derek was CC'd on the message. Subject: Termination of TechFlow Services contract. Dear Derek, please accept this email as formal notification that Pinnacle Enterprises is terminating our consulting services. Contract with TechFlow Solutions, effective immediately. This decision is based on the departure of Alex Rivera, who has been our primary technical contact and the architect of all our current systems. Without Mr. Rivera's continued involvement, TechFlow can no longer provide the level of service Pinnacle requires. We will be transitioning all development work to Mr. Rivera in his new capacity as VP of Technology at Pinnacle Enterprises. All outstanding payments will be processed according to the contract terms, but no new work will be assigned effective today. Thank you for the services provided during our partnership. Sincerely, Michael Brennan, CTO, Pinnacle Enterprises. I stared at the email for a full minute, savoring the moment. Then I forwarded it to Maria with a single word. Done. My phone exploded with calls and texts from Derek, but I ignored them all. At 11 a.m., my email chimed again. This time it was from Rebecca Harrison, CEO of TechFlow Solutions. Alex, I need to speak with you immediately regarding your resignation and the Pinnacle situation. Are you available for a call this morning? Rebecca, I replied. Rebecca, I'm available at your convenience. However, I should mention that my decision is final and non-negotiable. She called 5 minutes later. Alex, I'll be direct. Losing you is bad enough. Losing Pinnacle is catastrophic. What will it take to get you to stay? Rebecca, with all due respect, this conversation is 7 years too late. Alex, I had no idea Derek wasn't properly recognizing your contributions. If I'd known... Rebecca, every innovation TechFlow has been credited with in the past 5 years came from my work. Every major client we've retained has been because of my relationships. Every system that's prevented us from losing contracts was built by me. The fact that you didn't know that tells me everything I need to know about TechFlow's awareness of what actually drives success here. Alex, please, name your terms. Anything. My terms are simple. I want to work for a company that values my contributions from day one, not just when I'm walking out the door. We can offer you Derek's position, VP of Technology, 40% salary increase, equity participation. Rebecca, you're offering me Derek's job because I'm leaving and taking your biggest client with me. What happens to the next talented employee Derek decides has gotten too comfortable? She was quiet for a long moment. I understand your position, Alex. I'm disappointed, but I understand. I appreciate that, Rebecca. Can I ask you one favor? What's that? Will you reconsider the 2-week notice? Given the Pinnacle situation, it might be better for everyone if you transitioned immediately. I smiled. Rebecca, are you firing me? I'm suggesting that an immediate transition might be in everyone's best interest. I accept your suggestion. Consider this my final day. After I hung up with Rebecca, I spent an hour organizing my files and sending transition emails to my former colleagues. Then I closed my laptop and walked away from 7 years of my life. Derek called 6 more times that afternoon. I never answered. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my new office at Pinnacle Enterprises. Corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a view of the city skyline. When my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, my former UI/UX colleague at TechFlow. Alex, you need to know what's happening here. It's chaos. Derek got demoted to senior developer. They brought in an outside VP to replace him. 3 more clients have terminated contracts since you left. Rebecca's talking about layoffs. The junior developers you trained are all updating their resumes. I forwarded the message to Maria with a note. The aftermath continues. She texted back, "How do you feel?" Like I should have done this years ago. My computer chimed with an email from Marcus Chen, the junior developer I'd mentored for 2 years. Alex, I know you're busy getting settled at Pinnacle, but I wanted you to know that I submitted my resignation yesterday. After seeing how Derek treated you, I realized TechFlow isn't the kind of place I want to build my career. I start at TechFlow Solutions next month as a senior developer, 40% pay increase and real growth opportunities. Thank you for teaching me that loyalty should flow both ways. If you're ever hiring at Pinnacle, I'd love to be considered. Marcus, I smiled and made a note to discuss Marcus with Michael Brennan. Building my new team with people who understood the value of mutual respect seemed like an excellent place to start. That afternoon, I had lunch with Jennifer Walsh from TechFlow Solutions, who I'd met at an industry conference the previous year. Alex, I have to tell you, what happened at TechFlow is all anyone's talking about in the tech community, she said over coffee. Really? Derek's been trying to do damage control, claiming you were difficult to work with and resistant to feedback. But everyone knows what really happened. You were their star performer, and he torpedoed the relationship out of ego. How's that being received? Jennifer laughed. Let's just say Derek's reputation in the industry has taken a significant hit. Meanwhile, you're being praised for finally standing up for yourself and showing other developers that they don't have to accept being undervalued. I just got tired of being comfortable with less than I was worth. Well, your timing was perfect. The tech industry is desperate for senior talent who can actually deliver results. You're going to have recruiters calling you for years. That evening, Maria and I celebrated my first month at Pinnacle over dinner at our favorite restaurant, the same place where I'd eaten alone countless times while working late on TechFlow projects. So how does it feel? She asked, raising her wine glass. Being appreciated for your actual contributions? It feels like coming up for air after being underwater for 7 years, I replied. Michael asks for my input on strategic decisions. The team actually listens to my architectural recommendations. When I solve a problem, I get credited for solving it. Any regrets about leaving? Only that I waited so long to do it. My phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Alex Rivera. Alex, this is Derek. I nearly hung up immediately, but curiosity got the better of me. Derek, what can I do for you? Alex, I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but I needed to call. Why? To apologize. What I said in that team meeting was wrong. The way I treated you over the years was wrong. You didn't deserve any of it. I was quiet, waiting to see where this was going. Rebecca demoted me, Derek continued. I'm back to being a senior developer. 3 more clients have left since you resigned. The company's struggling, and it's largely because of how I handled everything. I'm sorry to hear that, Derek. Are you? Really? I thought about it honestly. Yes, I am. Not because I think you didn't earn the consequences, but because I know what it feels like to have your value dismissed after years of dedication. Alex, I know I have no right to ask, but is there any chance Pinnacle might consider bringing TechFlow back for some of their smaller projects? I know it's a long shot, but Derek, let me ask you something. Okay. Do you remember what you said in that team meeting 3 weeks ago? I said you'd gotten too comfortable. Right. And do you know what I realized after you said that? What? I realized you were absolutely right. I had gotten too comfortable. Comfortable with being undervalued. Comfortable with watching you take credit for my work. Comfortable with accepting less respect than I deserved. Derek was quiet. The thing is, Derek, I'm not comfortable with those things anymore. And neither should anyone else be. Alex, Derek, I hope you land on your feet. I really do. But I also hope you learn from this experience. What do you mean? I mean that when someone spends 7 years building your reputation and making you look good, calling them too comfortable is probably the stupidest thing you can do. I hung up and turned back to Maria. Derek, she asked, apologizing and asking if Pinnacle might throw TechFlow some business. What did you tell him? I told him I wasn't comfortable with being uncomfortable anymore. Maria laughed. I love that. How are things going with building your new team? Incredibly well. We're hiring Marcus Chen from TechFlow next month. Sarah's considering joining us as lead UI designer. Even Jennifer from project management has reached out about opportunities. You're basically rebuilding TechFlow, but with better management. I'm building what TechFlow could have been if Derek had understood that talent retention requires more than just paychecks. My phone chimed with an email notification. The sender was Rebecca Harrison from TechFlow. Alex, I hope you're settling in well at Pinnacle. I wanted to update you on some changes we've made in response to recent events. We've implemented new performance review processes that focus on recognizing individual contributions. We've also established clearer promotion pathways and improved our management training programs. I know these changes can't undo the way you were treated, but I hope they'll prevent other talented employees from feeling undervalued in the future. If you're ever interested in consulting work, or if Pinnacle has projects that might benefit from partnership, I hope you'll consider us. Best regards, Rebecca. I showed the email to Maria. Think they learned their lesson? Sounds like it. Are you going to respond? Maybe. In a few years, after they've proven they actually mean it. 2 months later, I was reviewing quarterly reports when Michael Brennan knocked on my office door. Alex, got a minute? I wanted to share some numbers with you. Sure, what's up? Your internal development team has been operational for 2 months now. Want to know how we're performing compared to when we were outsourcing to TechFlow? I'm listening. Project completion time is down 60%. Bug reports are down 80%. Client satisfaction scores are up 45%. And we're saving $1.2 million annually by bringing development in-house. That's incredible. More than that, the team culture you've built is exactly what we hoped for. No politics, no credit stealing, just talented people doing great work and getting recognized for it. That's all I ever wanted, Michael. A place where good work gets rewarded and people are valued for their actual contributions. Well, you've definitely built that here. Speaking of which, the board approved your request to expand the team. We can hire 6 more developers over the next quarter. Perfect. I've got my eye on some excellent candidates who are ready to leave situations where they're not properly appreciated. That afternoon, I was walking to my car when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Alex, this is Tom Bradley from Morrison Industries. We heard about your new position at Pinnacle. We're looking for a new consulting partner after some issues with our current provider. Interested in discussing a potential contract? Morrison Industries, TechFlow's second largest client after Pinnacle. I smiled and typed back, Tom, I'd be happy to discuss how Pinnacle's development team might help Morrison Industries. Let's schedule a call. By the time I got home, I'd received similar messages from 3 other former TechFlow clients. Word was spreading that there was a better option available, one that actually delivered on promises and valued client relationships. Maria was cooking dinner when I walked through the door. "Good day?" she asked. "Great day. We're expanding the team. Morrison Industries wants to discuss a contract, and Michael says our performance metrics are off the charts. And how does it feel being properly valued for your work?" I thought about Derek's comment from 4 months ago about being too comfortable. He'd been right, just not in the way he'd intended. It feels like I finally woke up from a 7-year nightmare where I convinced myself that being undervalued was normal. Any regrets? Only one. What's that? I regret not doing this sooner. I wasted years being comfortable with disrespect when I could have been building something amazing with people who actually appreciate talent. Maria smiled and handed me a glass of wine. "Well, you're building something amazing now." "Yes, I am. And the best part is, nobody gets to take credit for my work except me." We clinked glasses, and I thought about how much my life had changed since Derek's careless comment had shattered my comfortable illusions. Turns out, I wasn't the one who had gotten too comfortable. Derek had gotten comfortable taking credit for other people's work. TechFlow had gotten comfortable undervaluing their best performers. The entire industry had gotten comfortable with the idea that loyalty was a one-way street. But comfort zones, as I'd learned, can become very uncomfortable very quickly when the people you depend on decide they deserve better. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's just getting better. 6 months later, the industry conference. I was delivering a keynote speech at TechCon 2024 about building sustainable development teams when I spotted a familiar face in the audience. Derek was sitting in the back row, looking uncomfortable in a way that had nothing to do with the hotel conference room chairs. After my presentation, he approached me during the networking break. "Alex, great speech," he said, his voice lacking its old confidence. "Thanks, Derek. How are things going?" "They're different. I'm working as a senior developer at a startup now, learning a lot about what it means to actually contribute instead of just managing." "That sounds like valuable experience." "Alex, I wanted you to know that I've been following your success at Pinnacle. The industry articles, the team you've built, the contracts you've won, it's impressive. I appreciate that. I also wanted you to know that I've learned something important from what happened between us." "What's that?" "I learned that calling someone too comfortable when they're actually your most valuable asset is the fastest way to discover how uncomfortable your life can get without them." I smiled. "That's a hard lesson, but an important one." "Alex, is there any chance you might consider me for a position on your team? I know it's a lot to ask, but I've changed. I understand now what real leadership looks like." I looked at Derek, really looked at him. He seemed genuinely humbled by his experience, genuinely sorry for how he'd treated me. But some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. "Derek, I appreciate the apology, and I'm glad you've learned from the experience. But I'm building a team based on trust, respect, and recognition of individual contributions. That requires starting with a clean slate." "I understand. I do hope you find a place where you can put those lessons to good use." "Thanks, Alex, and I'm sorry for all of it." After Derek walked away, I was approached by a young developer who'd attended my presentation. "Mr. Rivera, I'm Jessica Chen. No relation to your Marcus," she said with a smile. "I wanted to thank you for your presentation. I'm in a situation similar to what you described, working for a manager who takes credit for my innovations and tells me I should be grateful for the opportunity." "How long have you been dealing with that?" 3 years. But after hearing your story, I realize I've gotten too comfortable with being undervalued." I handed her my business card. "Jessica, if you're interested in working for a team that values innovation and gives credit where it's due, please reach out. We're always looking for talented developers who understand their worth." Really? Really? The best revenge against people who don't value you isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. 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 Right.